Country C is still relatively stable. People are just looting goods without paying for them. The basic order is still considered normal. There have been no incidents of violence such as smashing, looting, or arson in the city. It's different from other countries in the world. People in other countries not only loot goods, they also set fire to vehicles and shops along the road. They attack the police, rob pedestrians, and gather in groups of thugs. The robbers go along the road, breaking into homes to rob. The harm and losses caused by panic and riots have even exceeded the nuclear war itself. 2 days later, Country R and the United Nations signed a ceasefire agreement. The war has ended. However, the disaster that brought devastation to the whole world was overshadowed by this event. The real crisis is the rampant expansion in Country J. If you want world peace, just hit the like buttons and subscribe. When people see the destructive power of this kind of war, when those interest groups, the hidden hands behind the war, discover that this war could destroy everything they have, they begin to yearn for peace. The unexpected end of the war, though surprising to everyone, actually makes perfect sense. The public security in all major cities of Country C has also returned to normal. Currently, the police are making every effort to track down those who led the riots and looted goods during the chaos. The media keeps airing reports condemning those who looted goods. The police have also issued a notice, stating that those who return the goods or make payment within the specified period can avoid criminal prosecution. Many people have voluntarily returned the goods. A middle-aged woman single-handedly managed to snatch over $10,000 worth of supermarket goods in just one day. These goods weigh 1 ton. It would take at least 30 round trips to push them in the supermarket's shopping cart. And the auntie lives on the 6th floor without an elevator. The supermarket is close to 1 kilometer away. I don't know how this auntie manages to do it. I did not participate in this round of resource grabbing. However, I was still reported by my neighbor. They said there are many goods of unknown origin in my house. When the police came to my door, luckily I kept all the receipts for my purchases. After that, I have a terrible headache looking at the room full of stuff in my house. I decided to start selling on secondhand websites after giving it some thought. But what's most frustrating is that this time, I will lose tens of thousands of dollars. And there is also the money borrowed from online lending platforms. I am now unable to repay it. Additionally, I do not yet have a food business operating permit. These things cannot be taken outside to sell at all. Private transactions are permissible. However, it's not the apocalypse now. Supplies outside are so abundant. Who would buy these things with unclear origins from me? It was quite difficult to find a buyer online. After the buyer came to inspect the goods, he said, "I can give you $1,000 for all of these as expired waste products." He mentioned that he could use them as pig feed when he takes them back. I got really angry. If it weren't for being unable to fight back, I would really want to beat the guy up. This is clearly taking advantage of the situation. Fortunately, there is still plenty of time. The money has not yet passed the due date. I have a few months to raise the money. I'm thinking that worst case scenario, I'll just keep these things for myself to eat. These things are almost enough for me to eat alone for 30 years. If they haven't expired. When I was still worrying about these issues, the impact of this nuclear war was profound. It has dealt a deadly blow to the international stock and financial markets. This war has set the global economy back at least 20 years. The world order has been rewritten. The United Nations organization announces its dissolution. The United Nations organization has formulated new regulations. One of them is prohibiting any form of military alliances between countries. Initiated by Country C, a global plan to destroy all nuclear weapons within 10 years has been launched. Country A also lost its position as the world's #1 superpower due to this war. Country R experienced a significant depletion of national strength after this war, and its power is far less than before. When people thought that all the crises had come to an end, A real crisis broke out. October 3, 2026. It is only 10 days since the end of the world's first nuclear war. A real crisis is escalating in Country J. The residents of Country J like to eat seafood, especially raw seafood. They enjoy eating sashimi, raw fish slices served over rice. They are known to never cook anything that can be eaten raw, although many people find it hard to accept. But it's because the average life expectancy of people in Country J ranks first in the world. So many people think that this dietary way is the healthiest. However, I feel, if they don't eat raw food, they should be able to live a few more years. In the past, eating sashimi may have been healthy. However, their current eating habits have become a source of crisis. When the people of Country J consume large quantities of seafood contaminated by nuclear wastewater for a long time, cesium slowly accumulates in their bodies. Some people started to have frequent nosebleeds at the beginning. Other than that, there were no other discomforts. Even though during the testing process, it was found that the toxic substance cesium in their bodies exceeded the standard by a large margin. Their hematopoietic system in the body has started to deteriorate. However, the authorities in Country J have concealed this fact. They claim that the excessive levels of cesium are not directly related to nosebleeds. When the capital of Country J was attacked by a nuclear bomb, the range of nuclear radiation reached beyond hundreds of kilometers. All people exposed to nuclear radiation began to experience changes in their bodies a few days later. These people first lost their sense of smell and taste. Some people also experienced a decline in memory. The large amount of cesium accumulated in their bodies is activated by strong nuclear radiation. The virus begins to damage human nervous and hematopoietic systems. Just 72 hours. These people lose the ability to speak. Their memory also fades almost entirely. People can't remember their names or where their home is. A large number of people walk out the door and never return. They wander aimlessly in the streets, like living corpses. People slowly become violent. They start attacking each other. Initially, these attacks are not lethal. When the World Health Organization sent an investigation team to investigate those who have been infected by the virus, they rely on instinct to discover that the blood inside the bodies of the World Health Organization staff is clean. The infected population has a frenzy for clean blood. They have a kind of desire close to madness. They have completely lost their rationality. They started attacking people who have not been infected, and drinking all their blood, eating all their flesh. Even more terrifying is that this virus has become transmissible. It can be transmitted to others through blood. The virus continues to evolve during the transmission process. This virus is different from previous viruses. The mortality rate is not 100%. However, the incubation period is very long. Some people who were exposed to the virus with high levels of cesium did not show any symptoms for up to 2 years. The virus has been quietly lurking in the body all along. After the nuclear war broke out, the massive nuclear radiation activated dormant viruses, all those previously infected with cesium. Overnight, everyone fell ill. 90% of the population in Country J exceeded cesium levels. The remaining 10% of people were also quickly bitten to death by those who fell ill among the 90%, either eaten or infected. The virus was first discovered on a fisherman on a boat who had bitten and killed 3 crew members. This virus was named the PK virus. In fact, this type of virus was first discovered in Yamaguchi Prefecture. It was initially named the Yamaguchi virus. However, it faced strong opposition and protests from the authorities in Country J. They believed it was a serious discrimination and insult. Eventually, the staff of the World Health Organization named this virus the PK virus. I looked at the news and said to Zane beside me, "The first apocalyptic disaster for humanity will be caused by Country J dumping toxic nuclear pollution water into the ocean." Zane said I am a radical. He feels I hate the people of Country J too much. I am not a radical. I just think the people of Country J are really detestable. Zane thinks this is just what their government does. It has nothing to do with their ordinary people. I don't think so. Because most of their people support what their government does. The rest are apathetic. There are too few people who truly oppose it. A person who does not firmly oppose is an indirect accomplice. Now encountering such disasters is self-inflicted, especially for a country that has not even faced its history. How could they expect others' understanding? Country J once harmed Country C, and is now once again harming the world. So I feel that no matter what I say or write to Country J, I have no moral pressure. Only those like Zane, who are more open-minded, without much sense of national honor or self-esteem, and who have never been interested in history, may feel sympathy for Country J. At this time, the virus is spreading among humans while also constantly evolving itself. The speed of vaccine development is far behind the speed of virus evolution. The virus spreads extremely quickly in the later stages. Once infected through blood contact, a person can be fully infected within an hour. Just like the game Plague Incorporated, this virus seems to have reached a peak in evolution speed from the very beginning. The only thing to do at this point is to completely isolate the healthy population. However, this requires a tremendous amount of manpower and resources. At this moment, the world no longer has the capacity. When I saw the first infector appearing in Country C on the media, I locked myself at home. I never went downstairs again. I have read many apocalyptic novels before. Although the stories in the novels are somewhat exaggerated, the depiction of human nature in them is still quite realistic. That means once society institutions lose their control during the apocalypse, people can become even scarier than zombies. Another day has passed. I'm looking at the view outside the window. The air in the building is cool. The wind is strong. I really like this feeling. The only downside is that I can't see the beautiful ladies outside clearly. My eyes are a bit short-sighted. Watching people on the ground from the 20th floor, I can't even distinguish between men and women. So, I bought a high-powered telescope to easily observe the situation within the community. Yesterday's media report stated that a citizen from Country J who entered the country suddenly fell ill at the airport. The person bit someone and tragically caused their death. Onlookers posted the video online. The scene was horrifying to watch. I was thinking as I watched the person biting others in the video, isn't this person mutating into a zombie? However, all media outlets now are very averse to using the word zombie. They prefer to use the internationally common term PK virus infector to refer to these individuals. This incident has caused great panic among people online. Rumors abound. Subsequently, flights from Country C to Country J, as well as ferries, were all suspended. This reminded me of the game Plague Incorporated again. Blockade international flights and ferries as soon as possible. It is indeed a measure to prevent the spread of viruses. But reality is not a game. Other countries in the world have also taken the same approach. The entire Country J is isolated. At this time, there are some rumors spreading on the forum. They are unofficial and unconfirmed. Some people say that Country J is basically over 90% of people have been infected. The government has been paralyzed. There are few survivors left. In order to appease the emotions of the people, officials from various countries have issued notices stating that rumors circulating online are not reliable. Everything is under control. This reminds me of the time during the global pandemic when similar statements were made. At this time, there is a small country in Europe. The government believes that this kind of thing should not be kept from the people. They then told everyone that this disease is very dangerous. Can't control it. Everyone take care of themselves. Protect yourself. As a result, as soon as the kind female president finished speaking, the whole country immediately descended into chaos. In her country, shops are being smashed and set on fire. Countless rioters take to the streets. They recklessly attack pedestrians and vandalize police stations. Some even carry guns, shooting randomly into the crowds on the streets. A woman was surrounded and sexually assaulted by a group of people as she walked on the street. I saw it on television. The serene western small country that has always been known as a utopia. Overnight, it turned into a living hell on earth. It was then that I understood why sometimes the authorities would rather tell lies to appease the public's emotions. Because once people become unruly and out of control, the consequences are unimaginable. Although domestically, only one case of infector has been discovered so far. But I know there are countless virus carriers hidden in group chats. They could erupt at any time. I am very aware that urban lockdown will be implemented soon. The number of infections in this disaster is likely to be like the last global pandemic. More than half of the people will be infected. In the last global pandemic, those infected could still be cured. But this time, once infected, it means death. Just thinking about it. I immediately started looking for things in the house to cover the windows. I fastened an unused blanket onto the window, creating a thick curtain. This way, the inside couldn't be seen from the outside, even when the lights were on at night. I am very clear that once there are many infected people and a high number of deaths, it is very likely that everything will spiral out of control. I calculated the stored food. I can't finish it even if I eat it alone for several years. The drinking water is also enough for me alone for a few years. Now I just need daily use water. Dry, I started filling all the buckets, basins, and bathtubs in the house. Every place that can hold water is filled with tap water. Then, categorize and organize the food. Items like vegetables and fruits that cannot be stored for a long time should be consumed first. Other items like potatoes and onions can be stored for later. These items can be stored for up to 3 months. What I am most worried about now is the issue of electricity. Once there is a power outage, the meat stored in the refrigerator and freezer will no longer be preserved. Just in case, I took advantage of the gas still available and made some of the over 300 pounds of meat stored into Chinese sausage. The remaining meat was all cooked. I added a lot of salt while cooking the meat. High salt content can extend the shelf life of the meat. After cooking, I cut the meat into fist-sized cubes, then I coated the outside with another layer of salt. I placed it by the window to air dry. This way, it can be stored for 1 to 2 years without spoiling. Leftover vegetables that cannot be finished are all pickled to make kimchi. These can all be stored long-term now. The shelf life of other rice, flour, grains, and cooking oil is longer. There's no need to worry too much. Last time, I stored a lot of flour, and it ended up getting infested with insects. Learning from the last lesson, I have separated the flour for storage. I also placed a large amount of desiccants nearby, as well as strong-smelling spices like Sichuan peppercorns and star anise to prevent insects. Other items like instant noodles, compressed biscuits, various canned foods, vacuum-sealed food bags, etc., have filled an entire room. I am very clear that the longer I hide, the safer I am. I feel that the pandemic will be over in a year. By then, the government will develop vaccines against the virus. And zombies will die due to lack of food as well. It is highly probable that the virus will disappear in about a year. I think by that time, there won't be many online loan lenders left to bother with. You also won't have to worry about debt problems yourself. I just make bacon and marinated meat, organizing these foods to eat. I have been busy for several days. Since I was young, my parents have always taught me that I must have a long-term vision in life. A person must know how to plan for the future. Never neglect tomorrow after today. When I just graduated, I also used to forget my parents' words. I spent money recklessly and lived without a plan. I spent all the money I earned on my ex-girlfriend. By the end of the month, I don't even have money for food. I have to borrow money everywhere and rely on others' mercy. What's even more frustrating is that my ex-girlfriend still criticizes me. It's good that we're broken up now. Being single feels really great. Except for food, I also saved a lot of cigarettes. Unfortunately, I'm too poor. The money is only enough for me to buy the cheapest brand. Even if I smoke a pack a day, these cigarettes will last me for half a year. Even if I don't smoke, when that time comes, these cigarettes will probably become the capital for me to live a stable life. But what gives me a headache is cigarettes. This kind of thing is under state control. I cannot buy as much as I want. Currently, these dozens of packs of cigarettes were also obtained by making a lot of effort to gather from many places. But I still have other reserves. I previously asked Zane to get some from his friends in the countryside for me. A whole big bag of countryside tobacco. The kind that old men often smoke. This kind of tobacco is very strong. Most people can't handle it. But I am used to it. People with a smoking addiction will not be picky in the end. I don't drink much, but I still stocked up on a few cases of Baijiu. Although it's not good Baijiu, sometimes its effects may be more effective than cigarettes. I have always had a habit of storing things in the past. Lots of odds and ends. As long as they're not broken, even if I can't use them, I won't throw them away. They are all kept at home. Tools like pliers, screwdrivers, small saws, craft knives, and so on. There is also an electric drill. These were left behind by the previous sublandlord during the renovation. He was originally going to throw them away in the trash can. I brought them all back home. These are also important supplies. What I am most proud of is the things stored in my computer. I have a 120 terabytes hard drive. It's filled with things inside. In simple terms, I have stored all the popular American TV shows, movies, blockbusters, anime, comic books, online novels, and more from the past 20 years. One time, Zane came to me looking for a movie to watch. He asked me, "Why does this folder show a size of 10 terabytes, but when I add up all the movies inside, it's only 2 terabytes? Where did the other 8 terabytes go?" I said, "Don't you have enough movies to watch with all of these? What do you want to watch? I can find it for you." Zane chuckled and said, "I just want to watch the ones you've hidden. Make a copy for me too. I'll take it home and watch it slowly." I rolled my eyes at Zane. Illiteracy is truly terrifying. It's fine to watch these things alone, but when you watch them with someone else, the nature of it changes. If I make another copy for you, it becomes a form of dissemination. Zane looked up to me in admiration. People who have been to college are different. They understand even this. With these 8 terabytes, there are probably thousands of movies. You could open a museum with all this. I'm not that amazing, really. I just like to store things. Some of the downloaded movies I haven't had time to watch. My hobby is collecting various things online and storing them on my hard drive. Although I never have time to watch them, I always feel that storing these things on my computer is the safest thing to do. There are tens of thousands of episodes of American TV shows, and there are over 10,000 movies. Even if I watched them non-stop for 24 hours a day, it would take me several years to finish. I have stored 2 terabytes of books alone. Over 1 million books. I know I won't be able to finish reading all these books, but at least I don't have to spend money on them. I try to store as many as I can. Of course, I also have a collection of blockbuster computer games from recent years. Games like The Last of Us 6, Tomb Raider 15, Diablo 5, I have them all. Of course, they are all pirated copies. I also have some very old games. Zane often criticizes me, saying it's uncultured to use pirated copies. I always disdainfully retort, "With my income, even if I don't play pirated games, I can't afford legitimate copies. I'll buy them when I have enough money." Although Zane and I often argue with each other, Zane is my only friend. In fact, Zane's family used to be very poor. Just got lucky. They struck it rich all of a sudden after the demolition. Despite getting rich overnight, fundamentally, he hasn't changed much. Even though he has money now, he still can't play with the kids from wealthy families. He is still looked down upon by them. So he prefers to play with me. I haven't seen Zane for several days. I still miss him a bit. So I quickly called Zane and asked him to make every effort to stock up on supplies. It's really going to be a big deal. But Zane still has some doubts. I didn't try to persuade him anymore. I've reminded him several times anyway. But still earnestly remind him. It's best to hide in the village for a while first. And tell him I've already hidden away. Don't come looking for me recently. Later, I called my parents and younger sister at our hometown. After learning that they had plenty of food and medicine stored, I felt relieved. Because my hometown is over 1,000 kilometers away from the coast, and it is located in a mountainous area. Relatively speaking, it is still very safe. Now I can only hope that my father and sister will listen to me. Try to store more things if possible. The village in my hometown should still be relatively safe. I spent a day organizing the current inventory list. I wrote down everything one by one. 99 boxes and 5 bags of instant noodles. 80 boxes of canned meat such as lunch meat, fish, and braised pork. 20 boxes of assorted fruit canned goods. 10 boxes of table salt. Various bags of pickled mustard greens, pickled vegetables, and salted duck eggs. There are about 30 boxes in total of ham sausages, spicy strips, and so on. About 150 kilograms of homemade salted pork and wax sausages. 49 bags of 10 kilograms of rice. 15 bags of 10 kilograms of flour. 50 kilograms of dried noodles. 50 kilograms each of dried rice noodles and rice noodles. 20 barrels of cooking oil, as well as various seasonings. 50 kilograms of white sugar. Bagged sunflower seeds and peanuts. Approximately 40 boxes of various snacks, chocolates, and so on. I roughly calculated. Just these foods cost me over $30,000. I originally stored them so that I could sell them at a high price when supplies were scarce. But it now seems highly likely that I will end up keeping them to eat myself. If he eats these things alone, he may not finish them in 3 or 5 years. By then, they may have expired. So I decided to keep these things until the most critical time. I can sell 2/3 of them and keep 1/3 for myself, which should be enough. To many people, tens of thousands of dollars may not seem like a large amount, but if used to buy food, it could sustain a person for many years. The treasure of cigarettes stored under my bed. I have always smoked soft-pack cigarettes. When I'm trying to improve my life, I usually buy a $5 pack of cigarettes. This time, since it's the apocalypse, I decided to indulge a bit myself. I saved up 10 boxes of $8 cigarettes, which I usually can't bear to smoke. I don't understand why my colleagues earn the same as me but dare to smoke $30 cigarettes per pack. I have to save up even to smoke $5 cigarettes. I looked at the piles of disinfectants, masks, and alcohol in another room. Sighing, I thought to myself that these things probably won't come in handy. I've spent over $10,000 on medical alcohol, but at least there's no methanol in it. Maybe I can dilute it with water and drink it in the future, though I'm not sure if it would be harmful to my health. With so many masks, I could use them as toilet paper in the future, a kind of recycling. The only thing I can't figure out is what to do with the disinfectant. After sorting everything out, I took notes in my notebook. These things are my entire wealth now. How to make effective use of them is crucial to my future survival. On the 3rd day of me hiding at home, just trying to survive, the residential compound was locked down. 215 infectors have been found domestically. I know that if the news reports 215, it means there are at least 200. However, all this is just the beginning. It is far from over. At first, everyone was discussing nuclear contaminated water.